This guy was convicted of a crime and filed an appeal, but I bet he would change that if he could. According to the Greene County Sheriff's Office, on October 30th, 2018, the Arkansas Child Abuse Hotline received a report in reference to a victim under the age of 11 who had been inappropriately touched by an adult male. It was about a week later, on November 5th, that the underage female was interviewed by a forensic interviewer. At that time, the victim in the case gave extremely vivid details of the abuse that she had suffered, who she suffered the abuse from, and where the abuse occurred. The forensic interviewer also spoke to the mother, and the mother was able to give a time frame for when she found out about the abuse so they could narrow down a timeline. On January 24th, 2019, an arrest warrant was issued for the offender. His name was Santiago Vasquez. Santiago Vasquez was charged with 5 counts of rape on a person under the age of 11, and in mid 2021, he went to trial. At that time of trial, Santiago was found guilty of all 5 counts of rape, and he was sentenced to 25 years in the Arkansas Department of Corrections. That was 25 years on each charge that was set to run concurrently. But Mr. Vasquez wasn't happy with that, and he filed an appeal. I know a lot of people don't actually win their appeals, but in 2022, Santiago Vasquez did win his appeal. His case was overturned and remanded back to a lower court, meaning he would have another trial. Now, the victim in the case testified at that first trial, and a lot of information came out when the victim testified. According to the victim, she was 8 or 9 years old whenever she started being abused by Santiago Vasquez. Santiago was her mother's boyfriend, and for a time he lived in the home with them. According to the victim, she shared a room with her brother, but sometimes she slept on the couch. Sometimes Santiago slept on the couch, and Santiago was always like touchy feely with her, to the point that when she was taking showers, sometimes Santiago would come in there and try to hug her while she was in the shower or ask to see her vagina. At one point, Santiago showed her his penis and asked her if she thought that it was big. I mean, she is 8 or 9 years old. He started touching her inappropriately on her personal areas of her body. There was a time that he used toys on personal areas of her body. There were two different toys that he would use, a purple one and a pink one, that he kept in his toolbox in the kitchen. According to the victim, he would put his finger in her bottom area and tell her that it would help her use the bathroom. And at being 8 or 9 years old, she honestly thought that he was some sort of medical professional, like a doctor or a nurse or something, and was actually doing this to help her. I mean, she didn't like it or want it to happen, but she was just convinced that it was for, I guess, her own good. She believed him. He was able to make her believe him. It wasn't until the victim got in an argument with her mother that her mother actually found out what was going on. What happened was the victim got in an argument with her mother and she blurted out, "You don't even know what happens when you're not here." And then she proceeded to tell her mom what happened when her mom wasn't home. Now, according to the victim at trial, she said that her and her mother and brother left the home that they shared with Santiago that night and went and got an apartment. They lived in an apartment, but slowly but surely, Santiago started coming around and bringing them dinners. So in February of 2024, Santiago got his new trial that he wanted, but it did not go in his favor. Santiago was found guilty of all 5 counts of rape again, but his sentence was so much more than the 25 years that he was sentenced to in the first trial. So much so that I think that he is probably kicking himself in the butt right now. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure how much time Santiago Vasquez was sentenced to at the second trial. News stations have said that it was 80 years. To me, it looks like it might be 120 years in the Arkansas Department of Corrections. It says that the first and second charges, for which he got 40 years each, are to run consecutively to one another. And then on charges 3, 4, and 5, like on charge 4, it says that 3 and 5 are to run concurrently, and he got 40 years for all of that. So that to me looks like 40, 40, and then 40 concurrently. So that would be 120. but again, I'm not 100% on that because it actually looks like there is a comma before the 3 where it says that counts 3 and 5 are to run concurrent to count 4. So maybe it's that 2, 3, and 5 are to run concurrent to count 4. What do you think? Either way, it's more time than he would have got than he was originally sentenced to when he was sentenced to 25 years in prison. And nobody can deny that. But I don't think like a felon. So maybe me thinking like you have to be regretting filing for that first appeal. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't think like that and he isn't thinking that he shouldn't have filed for that appeal, but I would just be beating myself up over it, actually, you know. But also, I don't touch children, so I don't know.